Making headlines tonight, Chief Prelate's statement. Askiri chapter Mahanayaka Thera warns government to take action against racist politicians.
First at 9. This is Other Derana 24/7.
Also making headlines tonight, dengue crisis. 20% of dengue patients so far have been children. Unrest in Parliament. Speaker Karu Jayasuriya adjourned sessions twice during the dengue debate. Bus fare hike. Cabinet has granted permission to increase bus fares by 6.28%. Making headlines internationally, hard Brexit. UK begins Brexit talks with the EU. Good evening everyone, Mahesh Johnny for Other Derana 24/7. We begin tonight with our continuing coverage on the dengue crisis. Dengue continues to cripple 14 districts with a staggering death toll of 200 and the number of suspected cases rising to 67,205. The Government Medical Officers Association cites the complacency of the public among the factors in the unanticipated spread of the dengue this year, attributing the vast number of deaths to the late admissions of patients to hospitals.
Hospitals across the island remained congested today, and the National Dengue Control Unit stated today that 20% of dengue patients so far have been children. Fees for blood tests and dengue antigen tests were reduced in private hospitals and laboratories from yesterday.
Honorable Minister Raj Senratna has taken immediate steps to screen all the patients who are coming in with dengue antigen testing and also to do blood counts as early as possible for all these patients and to reduce the number of admissions for government hospitals and the private hospitals. What we would like to request the public is to look after their environments. I think it's nothing but fair to go around your house or your office once a week at least to see whether there are any mosquito breeding sites around you.
The Government Medical Officers Association's Dengue Action Committee expects to forward a series of proposals to President Maithripala Sirisena to expedite action on the widening dengue crisis.
The complacency of the public is one factor. Even in the last few years, due to the intensified public awareness program, the public tend to go to the hospitals quickly. But this year, most of the deaths are due to the late presentation. We have established a dengue action committee and we are proposing that there should be district level and divisional level task force comprising of the public health inspectors, Samurdhi officers and Gramaniladaris so that the grassroots level will be actively involved to combat dengue disease. And we have decided to forward a proposal to the President within this week, and therefore we expect that the President will initiate the dengue control activities because we believe that the Ministry of Health and the Minister is not doing it optimally.
It may not all be doom and gloom, with the possibility of a Japanese-made vaccine for dengue becoming available in a few years' time.
These days, trials are underway to develop a vaccine from Japan. We too took part in its testing. If the tests work, after about 5 years' time, it can be released to the market as an experimental vaccine. Just 2 doses of the vaccine can reduce fatalities.
Meanwhile, a number of politicians expressed their views on the dengue crisis.
The joint opposition view is that the government is engaged in a very insipid campaign to conceal a burning issue from the people, one of which is the dengue crisis. It is an issue which needs national priority. This is a time when everyone should get together irrespective of party politics. We are glad that by now the President has established a presidential task force to combat dengue and has informed everyone as to how it should be carried out from the national to divisional level. As the youth front of the SLFP, we decided to deploy a cadre of 5,000 youths to combat dengue. Meanwhile, a tense situation arose in Parliament today regarding the prevalent dengue crisis, which led to Speaker Karu Jayasuriya briefly adjourning the session.
The number of deaths occurred because of dengue has risen to more than 200 and health officials are warning to take immediate measures to control the situation. So would anyone give any solution to the Parliament on this matter? Every hospital is filled with dengue patients and the government doesn't seem to care at all.
This question is for the Prime Minister. He will give his answer to 2 questions tomorrow.
The Health Minister should have given reasons for the situation before any parliamentarian representing the opposition inquired about this. I saw the other day how Health Minister said that spread of dengue is caused by the development of a country. What nonsense is that? He should come and make a statement regarding the situation.
We can't have a debate on this now. If the Prime Minister said that he would give an answer tomorrow, then we have to wait. There is a meeting which is being called with the President today. All health officials will be there. We have done everything to control this dengue crisis. Don't politicize this issue.
This isn't a political issue. He's the one trying to politicize it now. 25% of the dengue patients are school children. How can that be a political issue? Why should you wait to call this meeting today? Were you sleeping all this time?
Order please. Order please.
We are adjourning the parliament temporarily. I will let you know of further steps once we have a meeting with party leaders.
The parliament was adjourned briefly following the tense situation, and Minister of Health Dr. Rajitha Senaratne made a statement once the session reconvened.
I wasn't informed that anybody is going to inquire about this issue today. I heard about this at around 2 in the afternoon and I discussed it with the Prime Minister. He said he requested 24 hours to answer these questions. There are currently 2 special units for dengue. Those are the IDH and the District General Hospital in Negombo. We ran out of space for dengue patients in the IDH, so we had to get assistance of a few other hospitals. We have to take the same measures when we ran out of space in the district hospital in Negombo. There were 349 deaths in 2009. 1 in every 100 people died because of dengue. We are able to reduce that number to 0.3%. The World Health Organization admire our efforts because this number is much higher in every other country. And then the Medical Research Institute was able to discover a species of mosquito which consumes all the dengue mosquito larvae when released into breeding habitat. We will be starting that program soon. President Maithripala Sirisena says the army is not assigned to collect garbage in Colombo. The president further stated that the government will move towards a systematic waste management system soon. He said this addressing the Colombo District Special Environment Summit this evening.
Colombo District Special Environment Summit was held at the Maharagama Youth Centre under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena.
Collecting garbage is not assigned to the forces. If it is done as the Minister of Defence, it is I who has to assign them. The army is assigned to supervise the garbage collection process. In the cabinet, there were a number of arguments regarding the matter. Some asked not to dump garbage in their area, while the others said they will. We see public aggression as a result of some giving them a wrong picture of the matter. The public will not oppose if they are well informed about waste management and recycling. We are going to carry out public awareness programs in the near future on waste management and recycling, following which criticism will also fade away.
In the meantime, a cash donation by the Bangladesh government to assist the victims of recent flood and landslides in Sri Lanka was officially handed over to President Maithripala Sirisena today. Bangladesh High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Riaz Hamidullah, handed over the cheque to the President following the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, declared the donation.
In other local stories, the Cabinet has granted permission to increase bus fares by 6.28%. Accordingly, the minimum fare will be increased to 10 rupees from the current fare of 9 rupees. These changes are expected to come into effect from 1st of July 2017. This revision of prices are expected to take place as per a schedule every July, and accordingly, bus owners were making requests from the government to raise fares. Accordingly, Minister of Transport presented the new revised price to the Cabinet and was approved accordingly. Let's take a short commercial break. More local stories on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. The Chief Prelate of the Asgiri chapter, Most Venerable Warakagoda Sri Jnana Ratana Thera, says that he condemns the government's effort to silence the Buddhist monks who react to the statements made by politicians who instigate racism. Making a special statement, the Mahanayaka Thera noted that if some unrest was to manifest in the country, the government must be ready to take the responsibility for it. In his statement, Chief Prelate of the Asgiri chapter, Most Venerable Warakagoda Sri Jnana Ratana Thera, highlights 8 factors.
We cannot maintain the silence any further while witnessing the situation faced by the Sinhalese people and Buddhist monks. If we were to remain silent, it could be a mistake which cannot be rectified and would be an oversight of the responsibility bestowed on the Mahasangha. We would like to draw the attention of the President, Prime Minister and the government on these matters. We don't accept the arrogant behaviour and the style in which Venerable Galagoda Gnanasara Thera expresses his views, but we do not refuse his ideology. Instead of ascertaining the validity of those revelations and looking for solutions, the government has allowed some politicians and social activists to make a mockery of Buddhist monks. Even some laymen have begun to address the Venerable Gnanasara Thera by name. Such practices are against Sinhala Buddhist culture and we condemn such behaviour. We express our displeasure over the government's failure to take action against politicians who made racist statements while silencing Buddhist monks who voice against such politicians. Accordingly, if any unrest was to manifest in the country, the government must take full responsibility. We also note that the newly introduced laws targeting Sinhala Buddhists is the major cause for this. We also stress that the current laws are enough to maintain law and peace in the country. The government also should stop the illegal grabbing of land in the northern and eastern provinces under the banner of reconciliation. Further destruction of archaeological sites must also be stopped.
Minister of Justice and Buddha Sasana, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, refuted claims which stated that he had been aiding leader of Bodubala Sena, Venerable Galagoda Gnanasara Thera, to avoid his arrest. Very serious incidents were reported in the areas of Alutgama and Darga city back then. I would like to ask my friend Minister Rauf Hakim, why didn't he take actions to arrest or take legal measures against Galagoda Gnanasara Thera, who were behind these incidents at that time? Is it because he aided Gnanasara Thera to hide himself while he was a justice minister? I would also like to mention that 14 individuals have been arrested with regard to extremist incidents. Meanwhile, UNP parliamentarian M. Mujibur Rahman challenges joint opposition parliamentarian Uday Gammanpila to reveal details pertaining as to who's connected to the Bodubala Sena. This was revealed at the media briefing today held at the UNP headquarters at Sirikota. There is an organisation called Ravana Balaya of Vimal Veeravansa. It is Vimal Veeravansa who gave money to the monks of Ravana Balaya to use the vehicles when he was the Minister of Housing and Construction. In the B report of the case against Vimal Veeravansa, it clearly states that 3 vehicles, including JI7117, HO6515, JS9725, were provided for Venerable Ittakande Saddati Thera of Ravana Balaya. Vimal Veeravansa and others are secretly creating issues and talking to the media like saints. Parliamentarian Uday Gammanpila says that if someone is trying to spread false rumours regarding Bodubala Sena, he will reveal the truth. Now it is clear how things are connected. I challenge him to reveal the truth if he can. Also in local news, Auditor General Gamini Vijayasinghe says the conduct of the former Governor of the Central Bank, Arjuna Mahendran, during the controversial bond issuance is unprofessional. He said this appearing before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to probe the controversial bond issuance for the 7th day today.
Auditor General Gamini Vijayasinghe appeared before the Commission of Inquiry and was examined by attorneys of the Attorney General's Department. The attention of the Commission was directed to a letter sent by the World Bank in response to a letter sent by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. According to the World Bank, there is no internationally recognized method to ascertain whether the government incurred a loss through such a bond auction. Responding to questions of the attorneys, the Auditor General said he calculated the losses incurred by the government based on the cancellation of the direct placement method following a study of relevant incidents. Managing Director of First Capital Treasuries, Dinesh Shofler, then appeared before the Commission to testify. First Capital Treasuries is a primary dealer of the central bank bond market. Among the evidence he produced before the Commission was an email sent to the Deputy Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs, Dr. Harshadi Silva, complaining how the market was affected by the bond issuance on the 27th of February 2015. He said that the reason why he sent the email to Deputy Minister Dr. Harshadi Silva was not only to complain about the profits and losses made to his company by the bond issuance, but for the betterment of the entire market.
Now here's a look at more stories making news across the country in brief.
The Colombo High Court has temporarily lifted the travel ban imposed on former UNP General Secretary Tissa Attanayaka. The court granted permission to the former minister to travel overseas following a request made through his attorney when his case was taken up today. The 6 military intelligence personnel charged with the abduction of journalist Keith Noya have been granted bail by the Colombo High Court today. Accordingly, the 6 military personnel were released under a bail of 35,000 and a surety bail of 1.5 million rupees. 11 members of the opposition of the North Central Provincial Council tabled a no-confidence motion against the chairman of the North Central Provincial Council today. Commenting on the matter, leader of the opposition in the North Central Provincial Council, Anil Ratnayaka, says that no-confidence motion was tabled due to the irresponsible behaviour of the chairman, T.M.R. Siripala. Speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today, State Minister of the City Planning and Water Supply, Dr. Sudarshini Fernando Pillai, says that the role of women will be empowered more within community-based organizations.
We are in the process of strengthening and empowering these community-based organizations because around 50% of the members are females. So we are focusing on empowering these community-based organizations, and through them we want to sort of protect the catchment areas.
Let's move on to business news now. The government says it is in the process of holding discussions with prospective stakeholders for the loss-making national carrier Sri Lankan in a bid to rejuvenate its fortunes. Speaking at a media briefing, State Minister of Finance Eran Wickramaratne assured that the government will not completely sell off the national carrier. The minister also mentioned that discussions are underway with Emirates to see a possibility of partnering with Sri Lankan, to which Emirates directly responded to other Derana, refuting that statement. We're not giving anyone anything, only buying or selling, and only if it is profitable for us. Even at this point, we cannot exactly say with whom we can partner. There is a discussion with Emirates. We are also looking at the possibility of having a discussion with several others. According to the present situation, we will carry out those discussions separately. After that, we will see if there is a suitable partner for Sri Lankan Airlines. If there is one, we hope to join them. We are ready to run Sri Lankan Airlines as a public-private partnership.
However, in response to a request for clarification regarding Emirates' interest in the national carrier, a spokesperson for Emirates confirmed to Ada Derana that, quote, Emirates' strategy is unchanged. Our business is focused on organic growth and has a pipeline of investment to renew and grow the fleet, expand the global network, and continuous innovation of our products and services. Emirates confirmed that it has no plans to acquire stake in any airline, airport in Sri Lanka or elsewhere, unquote.
Marketing and Business Strategy, authored by Sri Lankan marketing strategist and banker Louis Dias, was launched in Colombo yesterday.
The book launch was held under the auspices of Minister of Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure Harin Fernando, with the presence of State Minister of Finance Eran Wickramaratne. A first of its kind strategic marketing attempts to contextualize marketing theories and explain them using Sri Lankan corporations as case studies. It presents management in the Sri Lankan context, where the role of marketers and marketing in local entities are explained taking an intellectual approach.
But marketing is also on a personal note, is what politicians do in daily life. What we do is human marketing. We have to market ourselves. We have a good structure in place, but we need the outside support as well.
If we were to talk of the problems of the country, everybody knows them. We should really look at fixing this system if we want to see this country progress. This country cannot be fixed by an individual. The system needs to be fixed.
Don't ever worry about failing. I fall down and fail all the time. Get up and start walking. Remember the 4 things that would enable you to build a personal strategy for yourself. Decide on 2 core competencies for the next 20 years. Envision a business model from these 2 core competencies. Persist and overcome your failures. Follow your heart and leave a legacy behind.
Onto the stock market now. Stocks were higher after the close today as gains in the information, technology, land and property and telecom sectors led shares higher. At the close, the CSE all share added 0.32%. Rising stocks outnumbered declining ones on the Colombo Stock Exchange by 104 to 74 and 63 ended unchanged. Here is RM Sivanandan from the Colombo Stock Exchange with the day's trading.
Top 5 gainers of the day were PC House, PC Parma, Serenity Hotels Non-Voting, Sonamal Financial Services and Dunamis Capital. While the top 5 losers were Ceylon Leather Products, Bouncy Resource, Blue Diamonds, Amana Takaful Life Insurance and Ceylon Hospitals Non-Voting. Today there were 4 crossings and the crossing turnover was 133.13 million rupees. Today's foreign purchases was 515.5 million rupees and the foreign sales was 636.23 million rupees.
The Sri Lankan rupee traded weaker today as dollar demands from importers weighed on the spot currency, which traded for the second straight session after 6 weeks. The spot rupee was trading at 153 rupees to 25 cents per dollar, weaker from yesterday's close. Now here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day today. Sports news is on the other side of this break. Stay with us. On to sports now. Sri Lanka Rugby earlier announced that the launch of the second Sri Lanka Super Sevens under the patronage of the Minister of Sports, Dasri Jayasekara, and the Minister of Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure, Harin Fernando, today. The tournament will be worked off over 2 legs, with the first being played at the Nittawala Stadium in Kandy on the 8th and 9th of July, while the second leg will be played at the Racecourse International Rugby Stadium on the 15th and 16th.
Speaking at a media briefing, the president of Sri Lanka Rugby stated that the Super Sevens was a stepping stone for any Sri Lankan player.
Super Sevens in Sri Lanka is now endorsed by the World Rugby Union and Asia Rugby. It is very much on their calendar. It was actually taken as an example of how countries should promote Sevens rugby at the last ARFU meeting and at the IRB.
Also speaking at the media briefing, Minister of Sports, Dasri Jayasekara, said that the ministry was focused on developing sports other than cricket with emphasis on rugby.
Yes, in this year I got 250 million for developing cricket in all the schools. Next time we must support the rugby union to develop and take this sport to the village level, and I am going to take the initiative to get some funding from the Sri Lankan government and try to develop the school level rugby in all over the country.
Sri Lanka's women's cricket team fell victim to an 8-wicket thrashing at the hands of England in the first warm-up game ahead of the Women's World Cup scheduled to commence on Saturday. Having won the toss and elected to bat, Sri Lanka were bowled out for just 155, with all of England's bowlers picking up wickets, while Anya Shrub's ball claimed 3 for 27 in her 10. In reply, England cruised to the target in 30 overs, losing just 2 wickets, with Sarah Taylor remaining unbeaten on 49. Also in sports, the British and Irish Lions picked up their 4th win of their 10-game tour earlier today, beating the Waikato Chiefs 34 points to 6.
The Lions defended brilliantly, restricting the Chiefs to just 2 penalties while running in 4 tries of their own. Jack Nowell touched down twice for the Lions, while Jared Payne got over once, with the 4th try being a penalty try. Dan Bigg added 3 conversions and 2 penalties for the Lions, and Stephen Donald knocked over Chiefs penalties.
International news is coming up. Stay with us. Moving on to international news, a US student held in captivity for more than 15 months in North Korea has died 1 week after returning home in a vegetative state. US President Donald Trump said it deepened his administration's determination to prevent such fates falling on innocent people at the hands of regimes that do not respect the rule of law.
22-year-old Otto Warmbier was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor last year for attempting to steal a propaganda sign from a hotel while on a tourist visit to North Korea. He was sent back to the US last Tuesday on humanitarian grounds, and it emerged that he had been in a coma for about a year. The North Korean government said he fell into the coma after contracting botulism and taking a sleeping pill in March last year. However, this account is disputed by US doctors who say they found no evidence of the illness. US President Donald Trump offered his condolences to Warmbier's family and condemned the North Korean government.
It's a brutal regime. We'll be able to handle it.
The prospect of the negotiations on the UK's departure from the EU are facing lots of uncertainties as the British government is still racked by internal disagreements over what kind of deal to seek. The UK and the European Union started formal negotiations over the Brexit in Brussels last evening, with the first meeting between the two lead negotiators, David Davis on behalf of the UK and Michael Brenier on behalf of the EU. The system worked out by both sides called for a monthly cycle consisting of 2 weeks of official laying out of the month's negotiating points, followed by a week's hard bargaining between Davies and Brenier. The 4th week would then allow both sides to brief their respective governments, 27 in the case of the EU, before moving on to the next agreed agenda item. The Conservative Party has been divided over the deal, with long-standing opponents of the EU membership demanding a so-called hard Brexit. Others include Chancellor of the Exchequer Philip Hammond urge a soft Brexit, which would include remaining in the single customs union, accepting the free movement of EU citizens and continuing to recognise the European Court of Justice. Also in international news, Australia says it is temporarily suspending its military air operations over Syria after Russia warned that it would treat aircrafts from the US-led coalition as potential targets. The Australian government said the pause was a precautionary measure and did not release further details. Moscow's warning came after the US shot down a Syrian military plane. As part of the backlash from the strike, Russia added that it was halting communications with the US aimed at preventing such incidents. Catherine Chang is at the Weather Centre with tomorrow's weather.
A very good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, anyone expecting the prevalent wet weather to stop, they'll have to wait a bit longer, as the increase in rainfall over the southwest part of the island in particular is forecast till Thursday. Now, showers are likely to continue in the western, Sub-Ragamo southern and central provinces, particularly in Monoragal and Ratnapura districts. Meanwhile, showers accompanied by winds are in store for the people in the northwestern province. Here's a look at the city-by-city forecast for the next 24 hours.
And that is about of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny and I'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. with the very latest. Do make sure to join us then. And before we go, let us take you down to the Colombo harbour as two French naval ships, Mistral and Kobe, was welcomed to the country by the Sri Lankan Navy in compliance with naval customs. The naval vessel Mistral consists of 431 ships' crew, including 56 officers, while Kobe carries 157 officers on board. Alongside the goodwill visit, the Navy personnel aboard these ships were engaged in sporting events with their Sri Lankan counterparts. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.